of the initiatives to support the development of English language sector in Indonesia. So, welcome to the first day of the UK-Indonesia Partnership Series, September 28th and 30th, September 2021. It is the first day and the official launch of the UK-Indonesia Digital Innovation Grants to support teacher professional development in Indonesia. During this 3-day series of events, there will be sharing of experience and expertise between the UK and Indonesia, especially in the area of teacher training and innovations in English teaching and assessments. Due to the rapid development, or we could say turbocharge in speed and innovation and technology, it is important that we all keep up with and anticipate the changes. We could say that the UK is an expert in teacher training and has a very large English language teaching sector and a wide range of specialists in teacher training and assessments. Indonesia recognized the importance of English, and there are hundreds of thousands of English teachers in Indonesia who continually seek development. Through sharing between the two countries, it is hoped that all parties will benefit. Today, we are here to be part of a launch of a new program and funding partnerships for initiatives to new approaches to teacher training. Before we move on, I'd just like to share with you a little bit about a housekeeping. This webinar is recorded. So if you're not yet aware, it is recorded and it will be broadcasted in YouTube. So you can check the link on the chat. It will be shared on the chat if you'd like to see it through YouTube. And also for Q&A, if you have any questions, please make sure you write them in the Q&A box. While it will not be answered today, British Council will take note of it and answer it in the Q&A section tomorrow. So I can see we have a lot of excitement on the chat room. We have many guests today from very different parts of Indonesia and also outside of Indonesia. So welcome again. To open today, we have a very special speaker. We have Sir Steve Smith, who is here, who is also a professor. He is the UK International Education Champion. And he was appointed as the UK's International Education Champion by the UK government in 2020. His role is to boost global partnerships between UK and partner countries. He has an extensive experience in the higher education sector, holding a number of prominent positions, most notably the Vice Chancellor of the University of Exeter. He has written and edited 13 books and almost 100 academic papers. So he has a lot of experience in the education, and he will start the sharing information today before we have the other speakers that we are lined up for today. So without further ado, Professor Sir Steve Smith, please, the platform is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, Mariam, and let me say how pleased I am to be here. I'd like to offer my thanks to the British Council Indonesia, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, and of course, colleagues in the Department of International Trade for pulling together this exciting event. And I'm absolutely proud to be included in today's official launch of the UK-Indonesia Digital Innovation Grant. This marks the second of these excellent initiatives in the region. The first was earlier in the summer in Vietnam, and I was really pleased to be involved in that launch too. Now, with over 53 million Indonesian children in schools and over 8 million students in higher education, making Indonesia the world's 4th largest education system, it's incredibly important to get things right at the initial teaching framework level. Even more so, of course, in a world that's rapidly seeking digital options to complement in-person teaching. That will, of course, offer a much more inclusive learning experience, drive up the level of attainment in students from a wider background, including in all countries that I work with, those in remote communities. And of course, that's really relevant to your marvelous, diverse country with over 6,000 islands of a total of 17,500 inhabited. So getting technology to remote learners is really important. Now, the UK has a long-standing commitment to support the ambitions of Indonesia to raise proficiency in English language, drawing on the expertise and experience of the UK's world-leading ELT sector. This includes developing local teaching resources, training Indonesian teachers of English, and connecting Indonesian classrooms and students with those in the UK and around the world. And initiatives such as the Digital Innovation Grant Partnerships will be a marvelous way of demonstrating this in laying the groundwork for further bilateral innovation. I recently had the honor of co-chairing the UK-Indonesia Higher Education Working Group, followed by a bilateral with Professor Nizam, the Director General for Higher Education at the Ministry. And strengthening ELT within higher education was one of several priorities highlighted by my esteemed Indonesian counterparts. Now, English, of course, isn't just the language of science. It's also incredibly important for international commerce. And within that, it's a great lever to get more people of all ages on the path to sustainable education, to the world of work, and of course, to continued professional development. I'd like to add that our Prime Minister places great importance on helping to lay the foundations for increasing the number of girls and women in education, including STEM, under the Leave No Girl Behind policy. Crucially, with the ultimate aim of greater job prospects and mobility for women and developing English language competence, this will have an important role to play in that policy. With the current global disruption to teaching, particularly the restrictions on face-to-face education at all levels, ministries from around the world are having to consider alternative online or blended methods of teaching for different platforms for engagement and actual content. Once embedded, these will also be sustainable, viable frameworks for the future normal times. Now, I very much look forward to hearing of those partnerships selected under the grant, the areas they're going to work on, and the progress at key milestones. And later in this week, there are 2 further ELT UK-Indonesia knowledge sharing events, and I really hope you can join these too. My colleagues in the Department of International Trade have produced a brochure profiling the selection of UK presenters for these sessions. And if you haven't already done so, I urge you to reach out to them. Now, Indonesia is one of the 5 priority countries that the British government has asked me to focus on during my first few years in this job. And I therefore hope very much that travel restrictions permitting, I'll be able to visit once again for my 3rd visit, your diverse and inspiring country towards the end of this year. I certainly aim to be in Indonesia next March, when I'm also going to be at the Wilton Park ASEAN Regional Dialogue in Ho Chi Minh City. So thank you very much for being here. And it now gives me great pleasure in handing over to Alison Barrett, Regional Director, Education and Society in East Asia at the British Council. Alison, thank you.
Well, thank you, Sir Steve, just for sharing the importance of relationship and education between UK and Indonesia. And before we move on to Alison, I would like to just share a little bit about Alison Barrett's background. She is the British Council's Regional Director of Education Society in East Asia. Alison held several senior positions in the British Council, leading large-scale English language teacher education programs and partnerships designed to improve the quality of English language policy and practice. So she has these extensive experience also in the English language programs in the past. So we'd like to welcome Alison Barrett, and thank you again, Sir Steve Smith, for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Mariam, for that kind introduction. And thank you, Sir Steve, for your opening remarks. I'm really pleased to be here with Sir Steve, but also with Dr. Iwan, who I met very recently at the UK-Indonesia Think Lab Festival. So it's great to be meeting online again. Hopefully it will be in person next time. I'm really pleased to be here today. As Mariam said, although my role spans the whole of our portfolio of work in education and society, but also the arts, my background, my professional background is in English language teacher education. So this has a very special place in my heart. So very, very happy to be here today. My colleague Colm, I think, is going to be sharing a few slides. I'm just going to talk you through a little bit about the British Council's work across the region in English language teacher education and English for education systems, to talk a little bit about some of our research initiatives and our partnership initiatives in the region, and then to just highlight some of the work that we've been doing with the UK sector in Vietnam and other countries of the region. Thank you, Colm. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, as you know, the Southeast Asia region there are 11 countries in the region. The British Council has offices in 7 of those countries across the region, and we have teams of education and English specialists working across the whole region, around 100 in total across East Asia. It's a huge, huge region. The numbers vary, but what we do know is that Indonesia has at least half of the schools in the region, half of the teachers, and has a huge ambition around its English language reform agenda. English is also the official language of the ASEAN region. That means it's the official working language of the ASEAN Secretariat, but also huge ambitions, as Steve mentioned earlier, around expanding and improving English, not only in basic education, but also as a means of supporting intra-regional mobility for higher education, but also international mobility and employability skills across the wider region and more globally. It is also used increasingly as as a medium of instruction in higher education to support that mobility ambition. Many countries across the region have initiated reform agendas to improve the teaching and learning of English, to make sure that that is inclusive, accessible, generating the results that students need to enable them to go on to secondary school or to university. The National Foreign Languages Project in Vietnam, for example, is one of those such initiatives, which was one of the drivers of the grant program that we launched in Vietnam very recently. There's a continued focus on making sure through COVID, but also more generally, that teachers and learners are not left behind. And that's where the role of technology can be so important, ensuring that we're able to reach out to teachers to ensure that they're supported through online or remote continuing professional development, or to learners who may be accessing online learning through this difficult period, but also into the future. Colin, if you could move over to the next. Yeah, a little bit about the British Council's programme. So we have 3 main areas of focus across our work globally, but also in this region. 3 programmatic areas: English in education, where we focus in basic education reform and support for improving English language systems, and that may be through teacher education, it may be through curricular reform, it may be through assessment. We also work to support English within a multilingual context, and in a context like Southeast Asia, which has around 1,000 of the world's 7,000 languages, it's really important to remember that English is absolutely a priority for many young people, but it also sits within a multilingual environment. We have a second programmatic area, which is called English Connects. That's about connecting teachers and learners with a community of practice globally. And we have hundreds of thousands of teachers from across the region who are currently using the online resources on the Teaching English website. The Teaching English website also provides an opportunity for teachers to access information, research outputs from across the UK's ELT sector. And then the third area for us is really working more with non-formal education systems. So that's looking at the role of English for empowerment, whether that's to support refugees who might be migrating from one country to another, who suddenly require English in order to access basic services or in order to access education in a new country. Or an English for Girls education program, which is looking at the role of English to support social outcomes or employability outcomes in challenging contexts. Thanks, Colin. Next slide. Everything we do, though, as Steve said at the beginning, everything we do is done in partnership. And this is just a bit of an example of some of the work that we've done around building the evidence base and the understanding and the underpinning insight that helps inform the work that we do across the region. So the first one is just an example of a partnership with the Language and Development Conference trustees. So many of you will be familiar with them. That's a UK group of academics who support multilingual education and the role of English within that globally. The British Council partnered with UNESCO and the Language and Development Trustees to co-host the Language and Development Conference in Bangkok about a year and a half ago. And two significant outputs from that conference. One was the UNESCO Bangkok Statement of Language and Inclusion, which was signed by 16 ministers of education from across the Asia-Pacific region, which commits countries to ensuring that inclusive language education is a priority for them, for young people across those 16 nations. We also published a range of academic papers conducted by young early career researchers from across the region, working with UK mentors to help them build and develop their language and research skills at the same time. And those papers were published recently. Many of you will be familiar with the New Directions Conference. This is our global conference looking at the role of language and assessment. The next conference will be hosted in Singapore in December, and the focus is on fairer, greener, and stronger, the future of language assessment post-COVID-19. We conducted a range of policy roundtables looking at the future of English, looking at the seminal work of Dr. David Graddle that many of you will be familiar with, and looking at whether his predictions made in the future of English in 1997 have actually come true, and looking forward to the next 10 years. What is the future of English in the future? Next slide, please, Colin. We also have published a range of profiles and insights looking at the state of English in different countries across the region. And of course, the first one here is the role of English as a medium of instruction in higher education in Indonesia. And this was a partnership between the University of Leeds, but also several Indonesian-based universities and technology institutes. And we have a plug for our next research piece, which is coming up very soon, which is a country profile and comparative study of English across 10 countries across the whole of ASEAN. So watch this space for that. That will be launched in November. I think I have 2 more slides. So next one, Colm, 1 more minute. So we all know the importance of continuing professional development for teachers. We all know what makes good professional development for teachers and for teacher educators. And we all know it's about committing time, ensuring it's sustainable, ensuring that we're focusing on subject matter and pedagogy, that we're looking at how we can support the improved learning outcomes of students. But one of the aspects I really wanted to highlight was around obviously remembering the importance of partnerships. Now that could be a partnership between a language teacher and a content teacher, could be a partnership between a teacher educator and a teacher or a student teacher, could be between 2 peers, a head teacher. But of course, in this case, we're looking at a partnership between the UK and Indonesia. And it's really exciting that we're able to bring this innovative grant program to Indonesia to help facilitate that and really strengthen and deepen the engagement between our 2 countries and between the teachers and educators in our 2 countries. The final slide, I think, just shows you, gives you a little bit of an example. These are some of the grants that were awarded in Vietnam last year. We launched this as a pilot fund, and you can see that we have a range of UK and Vietnam institutions who partnered. We're looking at the role of English and how you can build confidence and engagement through English through theatre, looking at open self-access, continuing professional development courses for teachers, for primary teachers, and also looking at exchange programs as well. So we're really excited to see what kind of innovative partnerships you come up with as part of this new UK-Indonesia partnership program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alison, for sharing your BC's expertise and activities in teaching and teacher training partnerships in East Asia. Thank you so much. And also, we looked at the research and insights and what you're doing in Indonesia and ASEAN in the English language development. So now for the remarks from the Indonesia, we have Dr. Iwan Syahril, PhD. Selamat datang, Pak. Director General of Teachers and Education Personnel, Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Republic of Indonesia. Before we call him to speak, I'll share a little bit about his background. He started his higher education at University of Pajajaran in International Relations, then took his English education postgraduate program at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. And his latest education is a dual degree in PhD in curriculum instruction and teacher education and in educational policy from Michigan State University. So he also has extensive knowledge in teacher training. And I think as part of the program for today, I would also like to share that not only he has that background, he also has been working in the government as a special staff to the Minister of Learning, Ministry of Education and Culture in 2019 to 20, and also in the past as Quality Education Ad Hoc Team and Board of Research and Development, Ministry of Education and Culture. And the platform is yours.
Thank you, Bu Mariam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon to you all. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the British Council and Department of Trade for this collaboration. We welcome and support the UK-Indonesia partnership in terms of working together towards enhancing English language teaching capacity in Indonesia. Thank you for the wonderful remarks and presentation also from Sir Steve Smith and Miss Alison Barrett that we met earlier in a previous webinar. I think why this is, I think, a very good thing for Indonesia and Indonesian education transformation. First of all, I'd like to share about the Merdeka Belajar policy in terms of like how it transformed the education. Merdeka Belajar, or emancipated learning, focuses on how to develop students to grow holistically and then towards the profile that we call the Profil Pelajar Pancasila, which has like 6 main characteristics. The first one is the religiosity. The second one is critical thinking. The third one is creativity. The fourth one is independent. And the fifth one is gotong royong. And the sixth one is the global citizenship. So in short, the student learning profile that we want to produce from the education system in Indonesia is those who have the competencies that that can connect or able to deal with the global context, but at the same time still rooted in terms of the wisdoms of the local culture in Indonesia. So with this, therefore, the strategic importance of the English language is actually very, very obvious, because English is the international language. It is the window for many of us in terms of accessing the information, collaboration, making the connection and engagement in many, many issues. So therefore, we strongly support strengthening the English language teaching in Indonesia. The quality of our students, of course, relies on the quality of the teachers. So we need to make sure that we provide multiple opportunities for our teachers to continue to grow, to continue to advance, and therefore can increase the quality of the services towards the students. I'd like to share a little bit about how the digital transformation at the moment is happening in our education ecosystem, because I think one of the very important things here is the innovation grants in terms of the digital innovation for English teacher professional development that is going to be launched today. So just a little bit of like a snapshot of how is our journey with the digital transformation at the moment in Indonesia, especially in our education ecosystem. The first one is we are going to see, or I'm going to talk a little bit about how it was prior to pandemic, and then the second one, or pre to 2020, and then the 2020 when the pandemic started to hit not only Indonesia but the whole world, and then the flagship technology initiatives to accelerate transformation goals, and then what we're thinking about going forwards in terms of using digital technology to transform the education system. The first one is pre-2020, we had, and we still do have Rumah Belajar. This is like the online platform that can be used both by teachers and students that consists of learning resources, question banks, virtual labs, and virtual classrooms that were quite used, not very widely because we have quite a lot of students and teachers. But in terms of the visits, I think it's quite a lot. The thing that we can highlight here is that we have a program called Duta Rumah Belajar or Pembatik, meaning teachers using the technology in their teaching and learning, to especially how to promote the resources in Rumah Belajar. Since 2018, we launched this program. We have already 186,000 teachers trained to use technology in their lessons, and 150,000 of which were trained during the pandemic, which is until now, meaning there is this accelerated adoption of our teachers and interest of our teachers in using technology in their not only teaching and learning, but also professional development. I think the pandemic has disrupted the ecosystem by making our teachers and educators in general are getting more used to using the digital platform. Not only the younger group of our educators, but even like the older ones. I was surprised myself when I met like a school principal. Like she was already super busy with being a principal, but she was joining the training, like Google's master training, and then she completed not only level 1 certified, Google certified educator level 1, but also level 2, which is even more complex. And she was like about 50 years old. So it's, and most Indonesian educators think that, oh, if you are like already in late 40s and 50s, it's so difficult for you to learn, and let alone about technology. But I think our teachers show the resilience and surprise ourselves that actually they can do and actually beat the younger group of teachers. So this is actually something that that we've seen happening during the pandemic. Our initial response during the pandemic in terms of distance learning is that we think about digital transformation actually before the pandemic. So it's not just because of the pandemic we started to think about it, but it's already the plan before. The Minister of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Mr. Nadiem Anwar Makarim, was assigned by the president, was tasked, especially one of the main tasks is like using technology to transform the education ecosystem. And I think the thoughts about the transformation using digital technology has, of course, increased its significance during the pandemic. We've got like still like the problems with infrastructure, and this of course needs to be collaborated with other ministries. For instance, in terms of schools without the electricity or internet infrastructure cannot be reached by the internet, or without computer lab. But we have addressed this by trying little by little, moving forward, try to help the schools with, for instance, with VSAT internet or laptops and Chromebooks, or data plans to support students and teachers, and also like the non internet related intervention, for instance, with TV and radio stations during the pandemic. We also assisted teachers about like how to teach and what to teach. For instance, the curriculum has been simplified so that the teachers are not burdened to cover everything as before, but focus on the most essential learning outcomes. And then we have like the portal called Ayo Guru Berbagi and Ayo Guru Belajar. Ayo Guru Berbagi is more like a crowdsourcing model for teachers to share the lesson ideas, and it can be like from all levels and all subject matters. And since April 2020, actually this April last year, there's been like 90 million site visits, and the lesson plans in this platform has been downloaded more than 23.8 million times. So it means that the teachers are actively from Sumatra to Papua to share with each other about the lesson ideas that hopefully can inspire and help each other, because the contextual variation in not only the pandemic, Indonesia by itself is so huge. So then this is actually more like a grassroots movement to help and share with each other. And the Ayo Guru Belajar is more like the online training sessions. We started this in last year in October 2020, and then there's been more than 1.1 million teachers been involved, and covering about 71% of the total schools in Indonesia. Again, it shows that, yeah, we still have a long way to go, but I think the momentum, the enthusiasm in our ecosystem is there. And I think if we continue this and the digital ecosystem take advantage of this enthusiasm and excitement, I think we can transform, and we can definitely improve a lot of things in our ecosystem, including our teacher capacity. So we have a plan, what we call something like the super app. It's our tech initiatives to help the teachers to teach and help teachers to learn, and also in terms of their career. So the tech intervention in Indonesia should be mobile friendly, because I think that's how it can be accessed to a lot of teachers in Indonesia. And I think the anxiety level of our teachers when they use mobile phones, I think is much lower than when they use laptop or a PC. It's much more, it's higher anxiety for some reason. So then it should be like the mobile friendly. So there's going to be a super app for teachers that we hope to launch November this year, and then continue going forward. By the way, this is on the left side is what I shared before about the Google Master Training, and we have the belajar.id account that's been used by 30 million teachers and students. And then hopefully it can reach all students and all teachers, because this unlimited storage for all teachers and students. And about 240,000 teachers have participated or get dissemination in terms of the Google Master Training. So it is to improve their pedagogical competence. What I want to emphasize is that going forward, we're taking a gotong royong approach, or more like collaborative approach, in developing the content to diversity in Indonesia. It can be community or partner-led, so we invite a lot of like content creators from different organizations, community institutions, to share about the lesson plans, teaching materials, exercises, or modules for teacher professional development, or also for the teaching and learning. So hopefully we can make this more useful for different diverse groups of teachers in Indonesia. And I think this is where the English language teaching can take advantage of this ecosystem. I think to conclude my presentation, I'd like to say once again that we believe in the partnership approach, the gotong royong approach. We believe that the digital innovation grants can make a difference, especially to support the teacher professional development in our schools and higher education institutions. So let's move together, let's collaborate, and let's be engaged in learning and sharing, and let's enhance the English language teaching capacity in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bapak Dr. Iwan Syahril. That was a very exciting presentation that you shared, and also stressing the importance of English as an international language, and also the impressive response by the government during the pandemic on distance learning, because I know Indonesia has a large challenges with the population, but also interesting the resilience of teachers in utilizing digital means to learn and teach, and also the momentum on enthusiasm and excitement, which I think leads to what Downs from British Council will be sharing today, which is part of that collaborative effort and sharing. And so he will be sharing a little bit more about the partnership and the grant that will be shared by a British Council with Indonesian institutions. So I would like to ask Calm Downs to share his information. But before that, let me just tell everybody about you a little bit and your background. You are the Director of English Education Society, British Council Indonesia, and he also has an education background in ELT and Applied Linguistics, King College, London. And he's been involved in education, specifically language education and professional skills training for over 20 years across many different countries, Europe, Middle East, and East Asia. And he is now based in Indonesia. So I think we'll ask Calm Downs to share your information. And once again, Dr. Iwan Cahlil, thank you so much for that sharing.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And I'd like to thank all of the speakers, Papa Iwan and Alison and Sir Steve Smith, for their presentations and comments. And good afternoon, selamat semua, to all Indonesian teachers across Indonesia. One of the amazing things about this pandemic, it's been a terrible pandemic, but it has turbocharged this transformation of digital innovations, and we are able to speak and connect across not only Indonesia but across the world. And we have lots of UK participants with us this morning, so good morning to those of you in the UK. I'm going to talk a little bit about our work in Indonesia, and then I'm going to tell you the specific details of our new UK-Indonesia grants, which open today. So allow me to share my screen, and I will begin with my presentation. As Miriam said, I am based in Jakarta, working from home at the moment. And this is 4 members of my team. I've highlighted their names. I mean, we're quite a big team in Indonesia, but our English team is a team of 4 of us. It's me, Maria, Adi, and Nando. And just to demonstrate how we're working at the moment, Maria's in Jakarta, but Nando's in Lampung, in Sumatra, and Adi's in Makassar. But for the last 6 months, we've been able to work remotely very effectively. And we don't work alone, we work closely with partners. And in Indonesia, this is a photograph from, I think, February last year at a conference organized by ITEL, which is Indonesia Technology Enhanced Language Learning. And they are a group of experts in English and technology. They're helping us to run this webinar today. And they have been one of our partners of many. And we look forward to the times when we can go back to our face-to-face events like this, as I'm sure all of you do. As Alison said, our work is global. And so although there's 4 of us in Indonesia, we're part of a much bigger team in over 100 countries, and we have a very strong global team. Our global program is focused primarily on all aspects of improving English language teaching, learning, and assessment. Particularly, I would say we work with teachers and teacher education and strengthening the sort of training and quality of English teachers in both schools and universities. This is our global website, where you can find a lot more information about our work and our resources that are global resources. And I keep emphasizing global resources because what is new about this grant scheme is that we're going to develop together some specific resources for Indonesian English teachers, but we're coming on to that. As Alison, also I'm resharing this slide briefly, just to highlight, I think, this part of it. Across all of our work, we conduct research. That research then can help inform policy recommendations. It can guide us towards what kind of training teachers need, in what ways curriculum or assessment systems can be improved. We work connecting UK expertise and overseas. That's exactly what we're doing here today and over the next 3 days. And as I said, we are really focused on strengthening systems, capacity building, and continuous professional development through assessment, curriculum, and resources. And actually, our grants, I think, cover in different ways all 4 of these core activities of what the British Council does. So before the pandemic, these are 2 photographs from before the pandemic. There's another picture there of that conference in Bogor that ITEL organized. And here's another picture of some training. And a lot of our work for many years, we've actually been in Indonesia slightly longer than the embassy. We've been here a long time, supporting teachers and teacher training, working with the Ministry of Education. But for many years, a lot of that has been face-to-face. Sometimes it's been large scale. We do 150 teachers or 200 teachers. And it's fantastic. And we want to do that, and we want to continue to do that because face-to-face training is excellent. However, there are limitations in the number of people that we can reach. And this is where innovations in digital resources and high quality content can start to make a transformative difference. So that's what we were doing in February and March last year. Globally, we have been transitioning our work. You will see more and more courses like the ones I'm showing you here. These are 2 global open online, what we call teacher professional development courses. For the one that's open at the moment, this is a MOOC that is running for English teachers around the world on learner motivation and how to motivate your learners. In October, we'll be running a new MOOC on integrating environmental issues into your teaching. And as I've written on the right, we're not the only organization that develops MOOCs or courses. RELO, the Regional English Language Office, America, they have some very good MOOCs. Cambridge University or National Geographic and others have some excellent high quality resources as well. And I want to emphasize that these are fantastic and we encourage teachers to take advantage of them. They are especially good for well-motivated teachers, and teachers who are able to relate the theory and advice to their own teaching context. And this is important because they're global by nature, they're not necessarily specifically designed for Indonesian teachers or understanding the specific learning environments in Indonesia. And quite often these types of courses require a good internet connection, so there can be some challenge. They're not always accessible for everybody, especially teachers in remote or rural areas. So let me move on to our new grants, and you'll begin to see our vision for these and how I will go on to explain how they hopefully are going to help us to produce some new teacher professional development resources specifically for Indonesia. This is a link to the website where you'll find all of the documents and details about our new grant scheme. As I have said here, that we are inviting applications for UK-Indonesia partnerships. So you have to have both the UK and an Indonesian partner. And what we want are for those partners to together design, develop, pilot, they've got to test it works, pilot and evaluate new resources with the potential to be used at national scale. So while you're pilot, you can have a good, solid, strong pilot next summer. Eventually, through proving the concept works and that your resources or these resources lead to a positive, transformative change in teaching practice in the classroom, that there's the potential for those to then be used by teachers everywhere in Indonesia. We have 3 categories. We want to produce resources to support teachers who are training, that they are still preparing to become teachers, but also to support teachers who are currently teaching in schools. We specifically have a category that we want to develop resources which we would call maybe low tech. I'll come on to that in a minute, to support teachers working in rural and remote areas. So maybe not a synchronous live sort of series of sessions like this. And we have a third category, which I'm going to detail in a minute, which is specifically focused on supporting English teachers in universities and lecturers or academics who are teaching using English as a medium of instruction. We are looking to award between 2 to 3 grants in each of those 3 categories. There is no minimum in terms of our grant award, but at the moment we have a maximum of 50,000 GBP for each individual award. And we don't have a fixed total number of grants, but we will be, this is an approximate guide, but we will be evaluating the proposals we receive, and together with national experts and advice from the ministry, making a decision on which grants will best meet the needs in Indonesia. Just a little bit more on the sort of timing I'm going to come on to, that these partnership proposals are for recommended 14 months of implementation. So we would hope that the projects will be up and running in January, and that will give you 14 months to do that designing, piloting and evaluating your resource. This is a more detailed breakdown of that timing. Again, all of these dates are in the request for proposal documentation form. And this includes how we will disperse the grant. And there will be 2 payments, one at the beginning of the project and one at the midway point. And I will move on to our, I do want to highlight here that whilst we're launching the proposal today on the 28th, actually you'll see this in a minute on how to apply. If you have questions, you've got an email address and you can send us all of your questions. We will be running more briefing sessions. I know for sure that we will run one on the 19th of October, a long one, to help with any clarification points that are needed before the deadline for submission, which is the 9th of November. So we have quite a long time for partners to get to know each other, for conversations to take place, for research to be conducted, a little bit of a analysis of the context in Indonesia. What is different then between the global resources and what we want to produce here in Indonesia? Well, I would say, and this is in the document, that our grants, we want to produce TPD resources that are context specific. They are going to be specifically for Indonesian teachers in schools and higher education. So where the resources feature case studies, those examples from the classroom, if there are videos of teachers talking, of students learning, we expect that these are going to be, these will be Indonesian teachers, good Indonesian teachers, Indonesian classrooms. We will also produce low-tech resources to make sure that these courses are accessible to teachers in rural and remote areas. We have a specific grant category for that, but it could be that your resource might have a high-tech version and a low-tech version. What's similar, we are looking for proposals that are going to produce high-quality resources. We will expect the quality to be very high in terms of obviously the pedagogical content, but the video and the audio quality, if you're using video and audio, or print, design, user experience, or learning experience, it will all be very high quality. We want to make sure that our resources are accessible and can be used at scale. Self-access resources, this is very important. Self-access resources are good for teachers who are highly motivated, but we know that learning or self-access resources are most effective when they are supported by local teacher activity groups, supervisors, experienced teachers, guiding kind of novice teachers through these programs. So we would, in order to sort of maximize the impact of these resources or courses, we would be looking to see examples in your proposals of how you're going to build capacity, local capacity in Indonesia to support the delivery of those courses and get as many teachers to take them as possible. Obviously, it would depend a little bit on the specific target audience of your course innovation. Why the UK and why Indonesia? Well, on the left, you can see the UK, as I think Sir Steve Smith has said, is we have a wide variety of expertise in teacher training. We also have a lot of expertise in developing remote, high quality courses. A lot of that expertise you will hear more about tomorrow, where we have universities and English language teaching companies and organizations and institutions sharing their experience. So you'll get a picture of that UK experience in our sessions tomorrow. But this is for Indonesia. So obviously Indonesia is the expert of its own context and the challenges faced here in Indonesia. But I would also say that the UK has a lot to learn from Indonesia. I would say that there's a lot of innovation. There is definitely a lot of innovation happening in Indonesia, especially Iwan said in mobile first. I think Indonesians are far more tech savvy when it comes to using a mobile phone and even using a mobile to teach English at the moment than the UK. So there's learning from both sides. And I think that's very important. Quickly, I'm going to just show you some examples. What type of innovations could be produced? Well, if you look at higher education, teaching, just in primary and secondary, here are 3 examples, possible outputs from this grant opportunity. A UK partner and an Indonesian partner could work together to produce a course specifically used to train English teachers to use technology. Bapak Iwan talked about fantastic training in Indonesia for using technology. I think that's excellent, but what I'm thinking is specifically for English teachers with English content, both in the classroom and also maybe to teach remotely. We know maybe that we could be more specific. We could say that we know that there is at the moment, the ministry and the Department for Curriculum are developing new learning outcome descriptors using the CEFR. But if there are new learning outcome descriptors, we'll need to train teachers how to use these and familiarize them with those descriptors. So that could be a specific project that meets that need. I'll move on, give you some more ideas. These are just ideas. In low tech, for example, here are 2 low tech ideas. You could take the same course from the previous slide, but make it, what would a low tech version of that be? How could you deliver that in a way that is accessible to teachers with a low sort of internet connection? We know that a lot of innovation happens in Indonesia through WhatsApp and another chat application called Discord. Perhaps you could develop a course specifically on training teachers how to use these applications to teach English or to manage their lessons. I think many of you will have heard about this webinar today because you got a message on WhatsApp. In higher education, here are a quick glimpse of some ideas for higher education. I will share my slides. I think I'll find a way to share my slides with you. But on here, I would emphasize we want to support both EMI lecturers, so academics. This is a growing need in Indonesian higher education institutions, but also we're keen to build the capacity of English teachers working in universities. I haven't obviously managed to capture all the different potential partners in the UK and Indonesia because there are so many. This is just a glimpse. Some of the, on the right, some of these organizations and institutions will be presenting tomorrow and on Thursday, and our colleagues at DIT are putting together a brochure of all of many more than the ones I'm putting on the screen at the moment. But this is it gives you an idea of the different types of potential partners that might be involved in this new exciting opportunity. And on the left, there are lots of fantastic potential partners in Indonesia, from very well established top universities to sort of specialist universities in teacher training, to very strong polytechnics, to our teacher association groups. And on the bottom, I would say to my friends watching from the UK, if you don't know who Ruang Guru are, or Cakap, or Zenius, or Mal Balajar Apa, then you really should, because this is where a lot of innovation is happening in the private sector. How to apply? You can download all of the documents, have a good read. There's not going to be time for a Q&A today, but I'm going to be back tomorrow for a Q&A, and there will be a specific briefing session on October the 19th. And also we're very happy to answer any questions by email between then and our briefing sessions. And I'm going to finish, I think, today by telling you to come back tomorrow, because we have a whole day focused on teacher training and professional development. So tomorrow we have 2 sessions where we're going to be, first of all, focusing on teacher training for teachers in schools. And then in the second session, we'll be focusing on teacher training for in higher education. So tomorrow is the big day that is very much linked to the grants. So there'll be a lot of discussion from both UK expertise and from the Indonesian landscape as well. And then on Thursday, we have another fantastic lineup of UK and Indonesian speakers to share innovations in direct English language teaching and assessment. Thank you very much for your patience. I think that's my last slide. Thank you very much again to Sir Steve Smith and to Alison Barrett and to Pat Iwan Sharil. I'm really excited that we are together and that we're launching this today. And I'm going to hand back to our moderator, Miriam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colin, for sharing the information on the grant scheme on the ELT professional development and the types that will be supported. So we're sure there will be many benefits that can benefit from this initiative, and also increase the collaboration between UK and Indonesia in education. So if any of you have the questions, as Colm said, please write it in the QA box on the, for the team to take note and to be answered tomorrow. Before we end, I would like to thank all of our speakers again for today. Sir Steve Smith for the opening remarks. Thank you so much. Alison Barrett, Bapak Dr. Iwan Syahril, dan juga Colm Downs. Thank you so much. And also later on, you'll see a QR code where you can check and get your schedule for tomorrow, next 2 days, and just wait until the next slide that comes. So, and for all of you who are here today from all over Indonesia and other parts of the world, we look forward to seeing the partnerships come to life in the future and supporting the English teacher professional development. So thank you once again to everybody and for coming to this session. So hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you.